Yeah, just how would you assess the first day camp overall?
Very pleased, great attitude. They've been anxious to get out there and play for real, and love the attitude and the hustle so far. But threw a lot at them. And it's a good first day of first step. We got a lot to work on yet, but I like where it's trending.
Lance, you talked a lot in the spring about how impressed you were by all the new faces and how they fit quickly and just seemed comfortable right away. One, what advantages does that give to you at the start of camp so you don't have to go through that or even wonder about that?
Yeah, and on that, Matt, certain positions, again, you could see that guys are definitely more comfortable this time than they were the first days of spring and things like that. Again, we're not spending time repeating ourselves or going back or things that are important to this program and are really non-negotiables about being where you're supposed to be, making all appointments. We're not spending all this extra time and energy with whether it be extra things of discipline or things like that you go through or kind of trying to pound a point home of any sort that we can keep moving forward. And it's been really good. In fact, as Matt Gildersleeve went over some stuff from the summer. Even on our academic front, we didn't have any missed appointments, missed classes, doing those things. And, he's got comparative numbers to what we walked into and how we've continued to kind of whittle that down. And it says a lot about our leadership and getting guys to understand, but it also shows, we're very pleased with the type of player that we've been able to bring in through the portal.
Yeah, and the second part of that is some of those guys are old, just portal-wise, right, and been around and vets and all that. Have you seen, as they kind of were comfortable right away in spring and then now you don't even have to worry about it, have you seen those guys kind of shift into leadership type of roles? Is that possible?
There's been guys that definitely have done that. Probably one that's probably stands out is Justice Finkley, is really just in his mannerisms and how he's gone through things and well respected by the team early here, and he's kind of moved into one of those roles. Lyric Rawls is another one I think that has done that. DJ Graham has done a great job there as well. So we have guys. As always, when I mention some, I end up leaving somebody out of it. But all in all, I'm pleased with where it's at, and I wouldn't be surprised as we move towards some things at the end of camp when we announce captains that there could be a guy like that in that group because of how they've fit in, but also gained respect throughout the locker room.
Coach, kind of building off that, with all the new faces and playing a week earlier, is there added importance on these couple of weeks that you can't figure out in the spring that you can really drill in right now?
Yeah, I think again, I'm sure the question's coming somewhere in this interview, but Jalen's out there full speed, taking every rep, doing everything, getting that back on track, and the continuity that we missed last fall camp is definitely there, and getting people working together, timed up. We have good continuity, and Bryce Foster's not practicing right now, but will be shortly. Getting all that kind of going here as fast as we can. The thing about it is, starting today still doesn't change the amount of practices before we kick it off for real. It's down the road is what really makes this a longer season. So preparation time, where it really kind of makes it difficult, is it's one less week of summer weight room and conditioning time. So you've got to balance that in all your thoughts on how we're going about it, our workloads and things like that.
Lance, do you have any more specifics nailed down on when you might practice inside the stadium?
Say that again.
Do you have any more specifics nailed down on when you might practice in the stadium?
We have a hopeful date coming up here soon, and I don't know if I can share that with you yet, but we're hoping here within. What do we have? Can we share that yet or not? I don't know. We could probably do that if they're telling us. Okay, yeah. I don't know. One of those secret. You'll probably be sitting up on the hill videotaping it or something, but. Yeah, we're hoping for August 1st. It will be a night practice in there is what our goal is right now, and met with we had a meeting. Travis and myself and Matt Gildersleeve met with the turf people, and they've seen things are very much on schedule and to point. And again, everything else logistically with the stadium that will allow us to get in there and do some work. To what extent can we get in the coaches' boxes? Can we do other things? That'll be determined as we get closer. But yes, we're hoping to get multiple practices in there before kickoff.
In the spring, you talked a little bit about the decision to move practice up and have sort of a longer conditioning period after the spring. Have you seen any big jumps from certain guys or anything like that?
Yeah, we went through all those numbers yesterday. I mentioned Lyric Rawls as maybe one. I'm just trying to remember all the bodies that they take these before and after pictures. But even some of our transfers, depending on their situations about what they, LeSean Williams is probably another one who didn't finish the season at Iowa. To get them back in the groove, in a full conditioning program where it's at, where their strength numbers. Are probably some guys that really stand out. I'm missing a bunch of others, as I know, but there have been some guys that have taken some really nice gains. Jacoby Davis is a guy that really has changed and matured in a lot of ways. Had a really good summer for us. A guy hopefully continue to compete in the secondary, but hopefully get on some special teams and do some things like that. And it's great to see guys like that mature along the way.
And then Jaden Doss, a little bit of a late addition.
Yeah.
Kind of how did that process go through, and what have you noticed in the, couple of days he's been here?
Well, yeah, and through these things, that, through this last portal thing that just came up because of roster designations and things like that, we'd heard that Jaden was going to enter the portal. Once he entered the portal, obviously, conversations with him, with his high school coaches, family. We're very much at the top of his list of options, and it continued to grow as the few days went by. Had other people that were involved in his life and ways in recruiting in the past and things that gave us a heads up. We reached out to Nebraska just to do our background checks, and everything was very favorable, just in a situation where a little bit more log jam than what he had hoped, and nothing on the good young man who's just looking to reset and go. So again, for us to add another player from being local and those things is important to us as we continue to do it, and a player of his caliber that we feel has a bright future. He continues to develop. Is just too good an opportunity to pass up.
Bryson Canty reported
Yep.
over the summer. He was one that wasn't around for spring. What did you see from him over the summer, and what are your hopes for him?
He's
this
a
fall?
big body, great, mature young man, works hard. He's picking up things really well. Didn't go through spring anywhere. So again, trying to be cautious that, between conditioning and practice, like expectations on how we go through, it's kind of gone through. But again, really like the young man. Think he's going to fit in really well to what we do.
And with Bryce missing the first however long week of practice or so, what does that mean for the offensive line as a whole, and what sort of opportunities does that create for other players?
Well, a guy like Tyler Mercer is going to get a lot of work. Again, Tyler played a lot at North Texas last year. Probably one of those guys you're talking about development-wise that, he and Jack Tanner played as true freshmen, but both continue to need to gain size and strength, and they know that, and they accepted that at their end of the year evaluations really well, and have worked on it. And I've seen Tyler handle that well today. He's got a good understanding of what we're doing. He doesn't flinch and let things get too big in the moment. So it'd be a great opportunity for him. Amir Herring's probably also going to get some work. We have some other guys that probably have some opportunities. We continue to try to evaluate what that starting group and rotational guys will be.
Just following up on that, last year during fall camp, you guys made some adjustments to the O-line, ended up working out well. What will it take with the position battles going on to kind of come out of this year's fall camp feeling good about where you're at with the O-line.
I'm sorry. What would?
Yeah, just what will it take to come out of
Well,
this year?
again,
What do you want to see in the next month?
You know,
in the O-line?
I probably a group that's going to work well together, obviously, and you know who's going to establish himself. You know, probably at the two positions where it might be a little more unsettled would be right tackle and left guard. But whoever those guys will be, and equally important, because as we find out, who else is going to be the movable pieces rotationally? How many will it be? And you know, I think Darryl Leipold does an excellent job as a teacher and developer in the classroom with our players and on the field. And you know, everyone's looking for offensive linemen these days, and I feel very confident that as we break camp, we're going to feel good about more than 5 guys and be able to play with a lot more than 5 if needed.
Hey, Lance, a late addition was Enrique Cruz. What do you expect from him? What have you seen
Yeah,
from him?
you know, Enrique's a fine young man. Mature's played a share of football while at Syracuse. Didn't play as much last year. Again, that maturity and understanding, but it's played a lot of power forward snaps, and again, brought in here to compete to win a starting job, and he understands that. And he's, you know, when you guys get a chance to meet with him, he's you know, great personality, nice young man, fits into what we're doing. And that kind of goes back to that earlier thing about some of the newcomers. You know, we don't have guys coming in trying to think that it's all going to revolve around them. They want to be contributors. They want to, you know, work hard and go do it. And I see Enrique being one of those guys.
There's been so many years where people have looked back over KU and there's not a lot of depth at D tackle, and it looks like that's definitely changed. What's your thoughts on that group?
Yeah, you know, equally with what's happening, you know, I talked about the O-line needs and stuff, and that seemed to be a big thing in the portal this second window that we had. But in all my years of coaching, everyone's always looking for D linemen. You're always wanting more bodies. You're always trying to develop and go. We're fortunate to have a fair amount of guys that have played, and you know, between DJ and Tommy and Blake have played the most football. Keenan Caldwell's played. Keenan's had, you know, I talk about guys. Keenan had a great summer, and it's really been fun to watch him kind of mature and grow through the process. You know, through his time here. Gage Keys has played a fair amount of football, but the one that's probably improved the most in strength and other things and what he's doing as a young man is Marcus Kelvin. So we feel good about those things, and as we know, it's a rotational position, and it's a physical position to play, and guys wear down as the season goes, so we're going to need everybody.
Coach, obviously all the players and coaches have been around all this construction on a daily basis. But could you offer some perspective on today being the official opening of camp in the shadow of this new stadium, some perspective on where things have come in your time here?
It's probably the biggest thing I've noticed right now. My wife said it to me last night. She asked me if I wash my car. And I said no, and that I hadn't washed it like for a week. But with all the construction and things blowing out, my car was always dirty, and washing it would just be dirty the next day. So the progression of what's happening has been a nice thing about changing that. We're getting closer to this thing being completed. Is that the months and year that it's gone through, but. It's been neat. It's a great backdrop. You know, we see the photos all the time. Our guys are excited. I mentioned with going on the field yesterday with Travis, and that you know, some of our players, you know, leaked out there and stuff just off to the corner and started taking videos. Guys are excited, and I hope our fans are excited about it, because it is definitely a game-changing you know, structure for us. It's a program statement. It's everything that's needed. It's going to be exciting. You know, I think it'll be something as we get closer and we go practice in there and it becomes a reality. It's going to be something special.
Coach, what's the running back room going to look like in the post Devin Neal era, and what's Daniel Highshot play into that?
Yeah, you know, when you know, glad you asked that, because watching Daniel Highshaw kind of emerge out of the shadow of Devin and never taking any away for, we all know what a special person Devin was for this program and university and community, but it's been also invigorating, I think is probably a good word, to watch Daniel Highshaw kind of see that he has this opportunity, and this program believes in him, and he's become a more vocal leader. He's worked on being a leader in many different ways. So I'm excited for him, and really, I say, much like I say about Jalen, guys who have battled injuries in this program and things. You're extra pulling for them in those instances. LeSean Williams, I think, is a great compliment and gives us two physical running backs. And LeSean's one that would admit that, he's kind of told us he's got a new lease on football and everything, and really probably didn't come here in the greatest of shape, and really had to, from where he was in practice one in the spring to where he ended up. And now where he's at is really leaps and bounds. So I'm really excited for him. Harry Stewart's back practicing today. Johnny Thompson, and then John Kelly, Justin Thurman are two young players that have a lot of ability. It's all new to them, but they're hustling and coachable, and I think it's going to be a position of depth.
With the departure of Kobe, Mello, and others from the room, the cornerbacks room is very different than previous years. What are you hoping to see with some of the additions you brought in and some of the guys who come back?
Again, I think it'll be a competitive room. I think we've had, we were excited when we recruited Jalen Todd and Austin Alexander and what they were going to bring, and they have not disappointed us in any way. Obviously, I think maybe expectations of the program and where we're at is different than it was in the 21 season when those guys were playing as freshmen. But I do feel there's probably some similarities of maybe having some younger guys. But DJ Graham is an experienced player, and he's played a lot of college football, and he's going to definitely add to that room with experience and abilities. Jaleel Hurley, again, he's got a lot of ability and talent. He's got great length. And so I look for that to be a position that we're going to be it's going to be competitive, and it's going to be multiple guys playing. And I mentioned some of the other guys early as well, that Jacoby Davis, Croft, and a few others will also add in there, if not on special teams. So it's a room. Yeah, you get comfortable with guys that have played tons and tons of football for you, but I don't think the cupboard's bare there.